Hello and welcome to Focus on Liberia. My name is Dennis Jai and we're broadcasting from Atlanta, Georgia. We want to welcome all our viewers from across the globe to this brand new series of our show called This I Remember, a journey of nostalgia, reclaiming, and remembrance. In this series, we're going to reflect on our country, Liberia, while growing up in that country. With me to reflect this hour of nostalgia, remembrance, and reclaiming, I have FOL political analyst, Mr. Wilmot Kunney. Mr. Kunney, welcome to Focus on Liberia.
Thank you, Dennis, for having me. I'm happy to be here.
Also, today's show, This I Remember, we have the president of Liberians in the Metro DC area, also professor of communication at Morgan State University, Madam Welma Mashanini Campbell Red. Prof. Red, welcome to Focus on Liberia.
Thank you very much. Thanks for inviting me on this program.
In this program, we want our guests to tell the stories they remember about our country, Liberia. Liberia, as we all know, is the place where our naval strengths have been buried. This is the country we love. And at this time, we want to remember growing up in Liberia. What were some of those stories that stick out in your mind that you just seem not to put away? So this is the time we remember our country, and we're going to be doing this. So first, let me welcome to this series, This I Remember, all our viewers from across the globe, Mr. Wilmot Kunney. Mr. Kunney.
Dennis, again, I want to say thanks for being here. I'm especially happy that I'm here with one of the individuals that I most admire. I always call her my Royal Highness, Professor Reed, and I think with her being on the show tonight, we will be able to put some interesting discussions, some moments that we all remember growing up in our country, Liberia. For those who may not really know me in some other respect, I come from a small town in Sino County called Kabada. And most of my reflections here would be based on my experiences in that little town, because it was from there that I learned some of the most important values of life that have, brought me thus far. So in appreciation to what that little town did for me, I will try to remember some of the things that I went through when I was there as a child, especially when it comes to my first journey in the classroom, education, and all of the related activities that are associated with education in the local environment. I think that's something that most people don't know, because sometimes some of the people that tell their stories are people from urban areas of our country. And very rarely do we hear stories coming from the deep hinterland, the deep rural areas of the country. So basically my reflections would be focused on that. My upcoming in Kabada, the little town of Kabada, the beginning of my academic journey, and how I transitioned to Monrovia. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Kunney. Let me bring to the stage, and Mr. Kunney was right to say Her Royal Highness, the former Miss Liberia television. From someone already said, "Wow, my favorite television broadcaster." So welcome to the stage, Professor Welma Red.
Oh, thank you again. And Mr. Kunney is also one of my favorite leaders in the community here in the diaspora, and he was a one-time leader. I would not say one time. He is one of the leaders of the Union of Liberian Associations in the Americas, and so I have a lot of respect for you. And please, I'm not a highness. I don't. I'm just like everybody else. Actually, since you have designated me, I will reflect on those days in Monrovia. As you said, a lot of people came from the urban areas. I did come from Monrovia. I was born there, and my parents came from outside of Monrovia. My mother came from Marshall. You know, she was a Bassa woman who was born and grew up in Marshall. Marshall, everybody knows about Marshall today. It's not too far from Monrovia, about 50 or so miles. A lovely place to live. Even though I didn't live in Marshall, we spent every holiday in Marshall, every Christmas and every 26 growing up. And those were also memorable moments we'll talk about. I also want to talk about, this whole idea about Miss Liberia and, the whole journey. It was a journey of my life that took me a lot of the ways to where I am today. And I would also like to touch on my high school years, when we were interacting with students and friends from other schools in the capital. There were these intramural programs such as Meet the Challenge. There were programs such as, the basketball games. We all converged at the YWCA. It was a big thing. There were the kickball games. Those were the women played kickball, and the guys played basketball and soccer. And just going out to those games every season during the tournament was exciting. It brought the whole community together because you met people from other schools and all that. And I would also like to touch a little bit on my Liberian South African connection, because Liberia did a lot to help in the liberation of South Africa. And in that gesture, that were in many different ways, the government did stuff. And I got to meet a lot of South African students and professors who were working and living in Liberia. And ultimately, I started working with Miriam Makeba, traveling the world, performing all over, from the United States. We were all over North Africa, every country in North Africa, Morocco. And I was just like basically 19, 20 years old. And I'm there performing on the stage for opening the FIFA games, or the All Africa Cup of Nation games in Morocco. And I'm on the stage with Miriam as she is performing for President Daniel Arap Moy's first inauguration. And I'm with Miriam, working with her, performing at the Festac first All Africa Festival that was held in Nigeria in 1970, Festac 76 or 77. Festac 76. I mean, there was so many things that I found myself involved in, as well as Blamadon Theater Workshop in Liberia that was led by Kona Kaisu and Philemon Ho. Philemon Ho, the writer of this song, Grazing in the Grass. This is what I was 18, 19, 20 in experiencing in Liberia. And so I would like to talk about those in a little more detail.
Ladies and gentlemen, there you have it in this brand new series we call This I Remember. And we want to welcome all our viewers. And I know you are from Liberia and you remember something about Liberia. At some point in the show, we're going to be calling on you to reflect as well. Post what you remember about Liberia and let's get this show started. Again, welcome to Focus on Liberia. My name is Dennis Jai and This I Remember. Mr. Kunney, what do you remember?
Well, as a child, growing up in Kabada, in fact, just a little history of Kabada. Kabada was, I want to believe it still is, the administrative headquarters of what is referred to as the Pageant statutory district. So it was the political headquarters of the district. So growing up as a child, the first thing your parents would drill into you is the need for you to go to school. It is school, school, school. And so my first experience was going to school. And there was only one school in the area, Pine Public School. All of the villages and the towns that surround Kabada, if you were living in any of those villages, you had to trek to school. Some students walked like 20 miles to get to school, some 30 miles to get to school. And you had the bigger fellows taking care of the smaller ones. People like us were the smaller ones at the time. And then we walked to school. There are two things I remember in Kabada. The very first thing, and many people may not know this, when I started school in Kabada, instruction was in Crew, was in the local, was in the language, our Crew language. Teachers were teaching us in Crew. Addition, subtraction, all of those things were done in the local language.
Give us an example.
So, for example, addition is what we call depo decking. You add something to something. So, if the teacher wanted to teach you 2 + 3 = 5, that's song. They time for that song, they move. But what I remember there is that even though we were doing other academic work in our language, but reading was done in English. There was a reader. We have one book that that was circulated, and everybody was told to read in English. So that was the situation that was that was going on. And then I think around maybe 1970, one of our brothers that had gone to Monrovia to go to KRTTR, I think he graduated from KRTTR, and I think there the government sent him back to his hometown to teach. And I remember he arrived there and everybody welcomed him. And the first law the man made in the school is that nobody speak Crew in the school again.
What?
How we were taught? No, at that time we call everybody a principal. Your principal bro. People say nobody Crew is banned in the school. You want to speak, you must speak English. So guess what? To go around the language ban, the only thing we knew was, reading in English, and some of the words we knew in English, we can't make a complete sentence in English. So, for example, you read, you see COME, you know what COME means. So you stay in the school, like if I wanted to say, Dennis, please come to me, I would just say, Dennis, COME. If I wanted to invite you to eat, it would be, I would just, just spell the word eat, EAT. That's how we started picking up English in the school, and people forcing themselves to speak English. But it was strictly enforced. The reason why I bring this up is that there were this time in Liberia where our people respected authority. The authority of the teacher was questionable. No one could question the authority of the teacher. I mean, the man was not only respected in the school, he was respected outside the school, even in social gathering outside the school. So he would be struggling with his English, everybody learning how to speak. And every time the teacher passing around, you speaking Kru, you would immediately stop speaking Kru. And then, some students reporting one another. So one incident I remember, one of the students, it was during the recess period. Mind you now, back in the day, some of the people that attending the school, some of them were adult men, they were making fun, different activities of life. So one of the students, I think he set his trap in a bush, and during recess time, he was telling his friend, I set my trap, and my trap caught this meat, and they were discussing everything in Kru. And one of the students ran from there straight to the principal. Principal, I hear Rachel, we are talking Kru. And Rachel too now trying to defend himself because the guy, all of the conversation, the high Kru, the man can relate that in English. So he asked the guy, where my Kru say? Where my Kru say? Those kind of little things. But sometimes I reflect on that because even the fellow I'm talking about now, he graduated from that school. He went to Sanoha, graduated, went to Monrovia, and guess what? Rachel became principal of CWA in Monrovia. So that is the kind of journey that sometimes, we reflect on these things,
So, Mr. Kunney, when he said what my Kru said, he wanted to say, what did you hear me say in Kru?
Yeah, and the main reason he was asking the guy is the guy could not relate everything in English. He's talking about setting trap, the trap called the porcupine. I mean, the man know already called porcupine in English. So the teacher said, well, you said the man spoke Kru. What the man Kru, what the man said, and he couldn't repeat it. So that was one incident I remember. Then the other incident.
No, let's stop there for a moment. Let's stop there for a moment. We'll come back to you. Because this guy now, so who won the case? So Rachel Weah was set free.
He was set free because nobody could repeat Rachel Weah Kru. that was my first introduction to due process.
Yeah,
let's go to Pro Red. What your Kru say?
Oh, that is so funny. Well, in the school I went to, it was a different environment.
Yeah, no, just tell your story. That's all I meant.
So, well, it was, I was at a Methodist elementary school, and this particular class, it was a speech class. And so you'll find a lot of people who leave from, so in Methodist elementary school, they had a speech laboratory. The school was sponsored by, Methodist Church in America. And they noticed that Liberians didn't speak very, our accent, we eliminated a lot of sounds at the end of the words and would just speak and drop sounds. And so they decided that we need to teach these children how to speak clearly. So they built a whole speech lab. And back in that time, each student had a microphone, a tape recorder, ear set, a link to the teacher. The teacher could listen to us and would be practicing how to speak properly. And one day, it wasn't computer, it was just a tape recorder. My tape recorder broke. Oh. And the principal at that school, an American man, his name was Dr. Brown, Dr. William Brown. Dr. Brown used to have one fufu stick. That's why he used to beat us with. He used to beat us with a fufu stick. So whenever any problem you have in class, and they say, okay, send you, the teachers were allowed to beat the student. Only Dr. Brown. Instead, they send you to the office of Dr. Brown, and he only beat you in your hand. He will not hit any other part of your body. You put your hand there, Dr. Brown will either, depending on the severity of the problem that you cause, give you 5 lashes, 10, or So the teacher came and said, "You broke this thing that they have sent all the way from America for you all to learn." My whole body was shaking. I was so scared. They come and send me to Dr. Brown. I'm telling you, this young man who was a classmate sitting next to me, he's late now. His name was Brown, Archibald Brown. Archie jumped up and said, "Teacher, Welma didn't break it. I broke it." Send me. I'm telling you, they had honorable men those days, young men who, were coming up. He said, "I broke it." Because he saw my face. He saw the terror in my face that they were going to beat me. And I couldn't take it, in my hand. And they sent Archie to Dr. Brown. Dr. Brown gave Archie that. I didn't open my mouth. I didn't open up. Archie went and took those lashes in Dr. Brown's office. He said he would. He would take it.
For you.
And, for me. And I can never forget Archie Brown and that incident. But I would say that the speech lab, it helped a lot of us to break away from our thick Liberian English, and we knew when to we speak our Liberian English anytime, but we easily can get into this habit of speaking very properly and clearly, and that led me to become a broadcaster, and I guess today a teacher of broadcasting at Morgan State University.
Yeah. and talking about Dr. Brown,
Archie had to take the blame for it.
Archie, so long before even people follow Jesus' example to take the punishment. And Archie did that. Isa Smith said he remembered Dr. Brown very well.
Yeah. Dr. Brown used to beat us with a fufu stick. I'm telling you, don't take fufu stick.
Fufu was on it, or it was
that regular fufu stick he bought from the market.
Yeah.
And brought it to the school, and he used to beat us with a fufu stick.
And Victoria wedding tapestry, I remember. So people are sharing their experience too, what they remember. Victoria Tapper remember when there were double promotion for smart students.
Yeah.
Prince Farmer said, "This is very interesting. My first time hearing about this."
Oh, I could never stop thanking Archie whenever I thought about that.
And where is Archie now? You say he passed.
He passed.
Yeah. I remember when there were boarding schools in Liberia with qualified teachers. And Prince, remember you or say, "Wow, Welma was my favorite television broadcast on ELBC."
Yeah, thank you, my dear brother.
Alexander Boniface, Emmanuel Hayes say, "Hi, big brother." I think it's Mr. Kunney. All right. So this I remember. Mr. Kunney, let's go back to you for another story you remember.
Okay, so this one was really a shocker for me because notice now, I left to come to Monrovia 1971, and my first year in Monrovia, I was so looking forward to the Flag Day celebration. But that was my first disappointment in Monrovia. Because guess what? They celebrated differently in a rural area. The Flag Day is not just that day of the holiday. It's a whole week event. It's an entire week. So like I said earlier, you have all of the towns and villages and surrounding areas all go to one big town to go to school. So the flag day in the interior, in the rural area, is a whole week thing. You have all of the schools that are located in a particular area. They will select one town to go for the flag day. One town. They will select. And the students that in that town, it is their responsibility to take in all of the guests that come in. And that explains why most of the folks from the rural area, they know one another because of these yearly activities. They will take all of the students from the different towns, different schools. Will go to one town for that flag day celebration. So let's say maybe the day itself is like May week, or maybe close to the end of the week. Monday is arrival day. All of the students from the different towns, they are coming, they are arriving. The students and their parents in the host town, they all line up to the various entrance points of that town to make sure that no student is left over. No student from other town is left over. So after that arrival day, the next day is social night, social competition, singing, traditional songs, and it will be the competition among the different schools. And you will hear different artists that from the different towns. They will all be part of that competition. You will go to one event, one cultural event, one singing event to the other. And then maybe Wednesday, the middle of the week, maybe the actual flag day. And guess what? The entire area there had one guy who was the drum mayor. Drum mayor means in the sense that he's the one that lead the parade. The funny thing is, it reached a point where the guy, even though he graduated from school, but because he knows how to do the parade, he was still referred to as the drum mayor, even though he was not a student. So every flag day, they will go bring him to lead the parade. And they will carry him in a specific house. He will be in a house, and then the band will go for him. He will march with a band and then proceed to the head of the line where all the schools are in line for the parade. So then they have the major day for the parade. The other day is sport event. The different schools are playing one another. And so it continues for a whole week. And that requires massive preparation. If your town was hosting the flag day, every able-bodied young man in our town is required to prepare to look for food, to stack up on food, meat, everything. Because the worst thing you don't want is for the host, for the visitors to come to your town, for there to be any gossip that, we went to that town, the food was short, and other things like that. So the young men, the students, including the parents in that town, they take a lot of time to prepare for that event. So it's a whole week celebration. So me in Monrovia, I go, they say flag day. I'm looking forward to people coming up. Today is flag day. I said, well, how can this be flag day? This thing's supposed to be for a week. I said, no, in Monrovia, they think that one day. Wow. And so that was one of the first thing I noticed that, well, it looked like Monrovia people, they do their things differently. And people from the rural areas, they do their thing differently. In the rural area, you may have one or two teachers that teach the whole school. And the other thing is...
So tell me, when you were arriving in Monrovia.
Well, when I was arriving in Monrovia, still my English was very bad, very terrible. And all of the people that were leaving Sino, for the most part, Southeast, most of the time, either you go to Nickeltown or you go to West Point. So when I arrived, as soon as I stepped off the bus, all the city boys say, oh, look at Conrad Bela now. Conrad Bela now.
So how they know you were from the country?
Because, they know the bus. There's a specific bus that brings people that time. And that bus they got a place where the bus can stop to put the people down. And then the relatives and other people, they wait. It's like, the way you see a stop center. They will go and wait to, to take their relatives. And everybody know that those who coming from that bus, they coming from Sino. And these young boys, oh, look at Country Bella. Country Bella. I'm not, I didn't even understand that. So I went home the next day, they start calling me the thing. So I went to my pa. I said, Papa, the children calling me, so I'm gonna kneel. The children can be laughing at me. The children say, I can't talk English. My pa look at me and say, look, my man, let me tell you, you can speak English better than those people. Don't let them scare you. Any English that comes in your mouth, just speak it. Anything that in your mouth. So my dad didn't give me the courage now. My dad said, anything I talk is good English. Guess what? I want to go back home. Cool. In crew, the people call cool. So I look at it. I said, I said, anything I thought people understand here. So I said, I want cool. Then they just say, oh, come to Bella, But, as a child, those things will only last for, it will last for a while. You will pick up, and the reason why we say it is that, sometimes policy makers, they focus too much on what happened in the cities and they forget people that live in the interior of our country. And I think all of us here can agree, 70% of our people live in rural Liberia. And so if we have to elevate that country, we have to make policies that affect those people and not only people that are in urban areas of the country. Mm-hmm. And so, that whole transition, and you in the interior there, you completely cut off from Monrovia, everything, even tailoring. We had a tailor in the town. Anytime the man saw your clothes in the town, as soon as you complain about any mistake, he said, my man start complaining that a new style in Monrovia. And I've been to Monrovia before. And he goes, oh, yeah, the man saw a whole pen with no pocket. He said, oh, well, you want a pocket? He said, no, the poor in Monrovia, they change the clothes. That's new fashion.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Let me bring you Welma again. Happy Tyler said there's a Liberian forum called This I Remember. So that was namesake. Tape Wia Smith say, hi Welma, I used to admire her on ELTV. And I watched. Let's put this from Robin before I bring you in, Professor Roy. He said, my time in Liberia was very short, just 9 years. Nevertheless, it was my sweet Liberia. I remember roller skating class at the YMCA. I remember Sophie ice cream shop, Relda cinema, Rooster Chicken, the in-spring and well-qualified teachers then at St. Peter Lutheran Church. I remember President Doe giving out candy to children. I remember visiting my mother at work at ITC Bank and watching my father and Joseph Newman Bwakai working together and became best friends. I remember, and thank you, Robin, and this I remember. Let's go to Professor Red.
Yeah. Okay. So we, the the tradition, as you say, the way they had organized the Flag Day is almost similar to how they organized these football teams in Newtown, where they put a lot of energy, and it's a beautiful thing. It becomes a cultural thing. I remember in Marshall, all around Monrovia, at least during Christmas, they used to have Santa Claus and open bigger. Have people been begging? Like got a whole old man bigger will be coming around Christmas season and dancing, and you pay them something from house to house. And it's Santa Claus, we are Santa Claus, we are. And they used to play on a saw. The saw you used to cut wood.
Yeah.
They used the saw and some kind of knife or so, and play music on the saw while the Santa Claus we are dancing. But these traditions, you'd be surprised how they get killed.
Yeah.
Stephen Talbot decided one Christmas that they would tax the Senegal. Yeah, they would put tax on the Senegal. Yeah, so all the money that they're collecting, they must pay tax. They must pay tax on it. And the people didn't want to pay the tax, and the Senegal just died down. I don't know if that's the real reason why it's ended.
And who was Stephen Tobin?
He was the Minister of Finance,
Yeah.
Department of Treasury, as the comparable one to the U.S. He was the minister in charge of the financing of the country and trying to collect taxes from wherever they could. And so they decided to tax the Senegal Wea, and that was the end of that. But we enjoyed it so much. But besides the Senegal Wea, every vacation, when we went to Marshall twice a year, and I don't know if that was a good thing or not. When we get in the town, we had to. The first thing my grandma used to do was get us some kind of heavy dose of you get a dose of warm medicine, all kind of medication. And they would make castor oil. We had to drink that thing there. And it was so nasty, but that was part of the whole thing. When you first arrive every year, twice a year, Christmas and 26, you first take that. And afterwards now, when they say you cleanse yourself good, we had the hall there, and we'll have our dances, we'll have different programs, and we also have something they call revival. And when we go to revival, you got to go on the praying bench. Whole night you'll be praying, and you're supposed to get religion, and you're supposed to get out of yourself.
To fall in the spirit.
Fall in the spirit. And they did that to us as little children. They line you up, you put on your little white dresses, and whole night, if you don't fall in the spirit. So my head tick. I could never fall in the spirit. I couldn't lie. But my cousin then, they'll be jumping all over the place. Not knowing that it wasn't real. It wasn't real. But those other things we did, even if we came from Monrovia, we had to go in the bush every other day. We used to follow everybody to go cut wood to bring it, because we had my grandmother had a fire her outside the house, outside kitchen, the fire her, and we had to go cut. We, the young ladies, would be picking up twigs and pieces of dry wood, and the boys then would go and get the bigger sticks and bring it. Then we had to go tote water, because there was a well so far away in the creek. We would be collecting water, put it on our head to fill out certain barrels, to fill out certain containers, and we'd take the whole morning to do that. And once we have that done, then we end up playing all day under the almond tree. They had mango. My grandmother had all kind of trees in her yard. She had mango or plum tree, as we call it in Liberia. She had bitter orange. She had guava. She had what they call this thing here. She had pawpaw. She had and plantain and banana. I mean, those are things that were common right in your little yard. You have these little things growing. And I really enjoy plum season when you collect the bags and bags of plum.
I can tell. Let's talk about your Miss Liberia experience.
Oh, that happened. It started off when I started at University of Liberia, and I was in the agriculture college. That's where I started off. Idealistic. I said I want to feed the nation. So Liberian get enough food. I want to be an agriculturalist. So we in those days the agricultural college were all the way at Fender, and the main campus housed every other college except the medical school, the agricultural school. We had to get on the bus every day and go out there. And yeah, I was in this. I was in the class with Massaquoi, who was recently minister of. No, he was head of the university, and the teacher told us give a big plots. That your exam, you must dig that whole plot. I don't know why I put myself in this thing. You have to dig the whole plot, put fertilizer, plant it, and the thing will grow for you to pass. But I've always been so blessed, I guess. One Labla was in my class. Roland Massaquoi was in my class, and what's the young man name? He's here in Maryland. Those three guys were my friends. We have been, doing science courses. They took all that thing for me. They planted for me again. They saved me, and my crop came up for me to pass. And then they decided that I should represent the Agricultural College in the Miss University of Liberia beauty pageant. And that was it was a good experience. I did it because there were not many girls, not young ladies in agriculture. So I represented University of Liberia in the Miss University, and I won that. And there was a tradition that Miss University of Liberia must be in the Miss Liberia contest. That's how I got there. And once I became Miss Liberia, I went to Festac and started working. I went to Festac with the Blamadon Theater Workshop, because we used to do drama and plays in Liberia. We had a drama group with Kunney. So mixed with the Miss Liberia thing and being on stage doing drama, it ended me up at the university. It ended me up working for the broadcasting, Liberia broadcasting system. But then I was taught all these South African songs by one of our directors, Philemon Ho, at the university, at the Blamadon Theater Workshop. And because we did that, Miriam saw us perform. In fact, we invited her to Liberia. She performed, Miriam Makeba, the big star from South Africa.
Yeah.
And Miriam Makeba invited me to perform on her show at Festac, the first all-African festival of arts that was held in Nigeria. And the show was so good that Miriam asked me, every time she would be traveling, she had to go to tour North Africa, 3 or 4 countries. She called my mom, can Wilma come with me? Don't worry, I will take care of her. I was like 17, 18 years old. And my mom told her, say, better take care of my daughter, but she can go. So I went with Miriam. We toured North Africa, Morocco, Tunisia, 3 or 4 countries in North Africa. Then next thing, Miriam had to tour Europe. She called my mom. This really messed up my school though, because I ended up dropping out of school at the agricultural college, because you got to go all the way out there, and there were no, like now you can do things online. None of that was possible. I was traveling, and my experience was so rich. It was education in itself. We traveled, we performed in Switzerland, we performed in France, Besançon, we performed in Brussels, we performed in The Hague, I mean, we were all over the world. We performed in Cuba.
What was your role? Were you singing or dancing?
I
Or?
was their background. Was their background. I and I don't. It's not so much of my singing, but I knew the South African dances. They call it a boot dance. They have rubber boots, rain boots, and you dance, and that's how the South African miners, people who deep in the mine, they wear these rain boots. So they develop a whole culture of dancing in these boots. And I was taught these dances because, I like dancing. Up to now, a lot of people know that I like to dance. So because I danced the dance so well, I could manage with the background singing. And then I had been into acting. And in the middle of her show, we'll do a little skit, a little acting for her to go and change. And we'll be on the stage acting, and then she will come in and join us. So I did more than just the background singing. I think my role there was more working, doing the dances and the um, drama part of it. And I was the only female, but there was a time when Chris Clinton, she was another very good Liberian singer. Chris toured with us in Nigeria, in Ghana once. And then, of course, Miriam's daughter would also join us. But most of the time, I was the only female, and she did take care of me because I would be in her suite, and all the other musicians from, most of them came from Guinea. She lived in Guinea. They would be in a different hotel, like a 3-star hotel, and she would be in a 5-star hotel, and she would make me stay in with her. So I got a rich experience working with Miriam, and that's where I met my husband, Mashinini, through Miriam Makeba. And I have 2 children by Tsitsi Mashinini, who was the president of the Soweto Student Association that headed and organized the riots, the student uprising in South Africa that started to bring down the apartheid movement.
Amanda.
Yeah.
That if you brother Amanda went to our country, you can't leave.
What happened is there were teachers. Liberia used to give passports to South Africans who were able to leave. Mandela got a passport from Liberia, the Liberian government, to help him travel because the South African government wouldn't give him a passport when he sneaked out of South Africa to go and get support. Liberia gave Miriam Makeba a passport, and a lot of students came to Liberia.
So
scholarship.
When you say give them passport, meaning at some point Nelson Mandela was a Liberian.
He was a Liberian at one point, and so was Miriam, and so were Vusmake and others who were fighting against the apartheid regime in South Africa. All these people needed to travel to Europe and America to get support, get money, and Liberia offered them passports. We could arrange to give them Liberian passports.
Okay. And this is the whole point. Liberia, sometimes people look at Liberia today and in the midst of the challenges and think that it's been like this all along. But that's not the case. Let me bring in a few comments, and then we're going to go to Mr. Kunney to give us a few of his story as we try to wind this thing down. Abu Bakar Kane, this is what he remember. Our school system in Mama Liberia is just unique. When we started dressing in our refugee school uniform in Zerekore, Guinea, to be precise, especially our senior students with their long sleeves and necktie, the Guineans thought that there were new companies in town. So he's saying the way we dress in school uniform with necktie is unique. As Olufumi Adams, but there has been a paradigm shift in the population. The interior is no longer 70%. Alexander Hayes say, good joke, very funny. Isaac Smith, I danced with Santa Claus. I beat drums and played the saw. I never even heard about playing saw, so this is my first time that I played the saw.
Yeah.
Those were the days when youthfulness meant fun and friendship. It was experiencing the fullness of life as a child or young person. We look forward to those days. Nehemiah Wardlow, I personally admire academic competition between the country boys and the city boys. The country boys always came on top. I don't know if Welma will believe that.
Well, I thought it was always a balance. You know, it was flipping, flipping, flipping.
Yeah, right.
But that thing was a good thing. Meet the Challenge was a intramural school television program, and the students prepared for it. The best and brightest from each school would meet for a whole tournament. And the teachers, there were the people who organized the program would ask questions, you know,
Yeah.
history, social studies, current affairs. You know, they ask those questions, and the children studied, and people watched Meet the Challenge. That was a great one.
That was Abby Tyler said, I remember the yes and no contest on the Sherman Brown show. You remember that? I enjoyed playing it with my friends and family when I came to America.
Yeah.
Richard Stevens, oh yes, I remember my country, Liberia, has a sweet land of liberty where people from surrounding countries ran for survival. Moreover, to earn the US dollar to improve their lives. And Bannon Doe, I call him Veteran Doe, is watching the show. Welcome, Mr. Doe. Mr. Kunney, what
Yeah.
else do you remember?
But look, listen, those of us that live in Liberia all that time, I mean, a lot of memories. We may not be able to relate all here tonight, but one thing that would not escape a lot of people is that rivalry that existed between Invincible 11 and Mighty Barrow.
Oh.
Nobody from Liberia will ever miss that rivalry. And in fact, that rivalry became intense after the coup when President Doe became a member of Mighty Barrow.
Yeah.
And all of these tournaments, who own the land tournament and all of these tournaments, I mean, those are days I can never forget. I mean, you see, our IE, I'm seeing my yellow boys entering the Anthony Tournament Stadium. And the story was that I had my roommate who was Mighty Barrow. And guess what? Whenever Barrow and I play and if Barrow is defeated, he won't come home. He will be he will be hiding until I go to sleep. And he will sleep in. And similarly, when I is defeated, I will do the same thing. So we started hiding out from one another, you know. But you know, those days were fun. And one of the, in terms of sport, one of the days that I want to believe most Liberians remember was that day when Liberia defeated Ghana, that 2-0 game. We were all thinking this open close. And I still remember the images of Doe. I mean, so joyous. And in fact, he made one statement. I think after that, Liberia was supposed to go and play Kenya. And man, you can see those days. We go into Kenya, I will spell that and more me. And then need a 3 letter. I mean, it was so. I mean, so those were the days. You know, this. I mean, you can't easily forget these things. Growing up in Liberia and the way the people were very, very happy during that time. And so, I mean, then the other thing, I mean, again, going back to my root, the other thing I can't forget is the performance of Tijajuru during wake. Who can ever forget Tijajuru?
Tijajuru.
Tijajuru, I remember the Weda market. You got to go sell your little Weda market to get, you know, all of these things. But everybody was looking forward to that wake in Nikutown for Tijajuru to be there, and Tijajuru will carry us to the wee hours of the morning. We got what Willa Market was selling chiclet. I remember the Winston cigarette, Marlboro cigarette, all of these things. And, a lot of things to remember about Liberia, seriously.
If you are just joining us, this is Focus on Liberia. And in this show, this I remember. Professor Red.
Oh, I was saying everything about Liberia was not 100%. We know that.
Yeah.
And we know that there are things that needed to be changed. But, building on what we had there, for example, I really enjoyed the atmosphere at the University of Liberia when I was there. And by the way, I did drop. I did drop for several years, and had kids and everything. Had my 2 kids, and then returned when I started working at the university at the LBS, Liberian Broadcasting Station, doing television production there, reading the news and producing a show that was called Arts and Artists, where I went around talking to artists, showing us how they do their work, showcasing Liberian talent and all that. As I went back to LU, and I couldn't go back to the farm because I was now working in town, and I didn't have the time to travel. When you go to the farm, you go in the morning, you come back in the night, period. Yeah, there was no other way. So I decided to switch majors. So I have a minor in agriculture, and I went to the sociology department and got a major in sociology. So I had the 2 degrees together. And with that, learning about society, learning about how it works, again, helped me to understand what was going on. And we worked with different groups who were basically teaching Liberian students how to support the South African liberation movement. And then, there was the rice riots. People died. People died on LU campus. It was stormed. And at the end of the day, we ended up with, cut to the chase, cut to today. No matter what people say, we have ended up with a multi-party system. That is a fact. With all the negatives that have gone on up to now, we have a multi-party system. Party politics is vibrant in Liberia. There's a change, and the way there's a change of senators. A lot of changes after the 9 years or whatever they serve. You see big changes because people are not satisfied. So eventually, hopefully, with God's blessing, we'll get even to a better place.
And talking about your South African experience, which we want you to say a little bit more. We have a picture here. You are here with Nelson Mandela, who, as you said earlier, is also a Liberian at one point.
Yes. In 2006, as I said, my husband organized or led the organization of the student uprising. They say Fire in Soweto, that song that was written, Fire in Soweto. And the students just said no to the apartheid government that forced Black people to be on one side and not live in white areas, and that the apartheid regime insisted that Black children would be taught only Bantu or Black education, no chemistry, no physics, only basic math, English, and reading, only enough to work for the white man. And that was the law. And the children say no. And they imposed that law when my husband was a senior, and he was the president of his the Soweto Association, and they marched and they said they will not accept Black or Bantu education. And the police opened fire on them. So that day is celebrated June 16 every year in South Africa. So I was invited by the South African, actually the mayor of Johannesburg invited me and my family, my Mashinini daughters, my granddaughter. At the time I had one granddaughter, and all of us went, and the celebration was really grand. Winnie Mandela invited me to her home, and then Nelson invited me to his office where he had the Nelson Mandela Center. Me and the entire, not just me and my children, but me and the Mashinini clan, the South African family as well, paid a visit to Mandela that day in 2006 as we were there to celebrate the freedom and the support that that were given to the children, the youth. The youth led that uprising that eventually led to the shutting down of the apartheid regime and the freeing of Nelson Mandela after 27 years. At the time, he was not the president. Mbeki had become president. And I met Mbeki. I met Desmond Tutu as well. But we went to Mandela's office as a family and met with him. It was really, really, really a wonderful experience for me and my children and the whole Mashinini clan in South Africa.
Great. Let's read few comments before I bring in Mr. Kunney as we wind this down. Abu Bakr Khan say, yes, I remember the Meet the Challenge those days. And I'm happy to report that I was the captain of Monrovia College Meet the Challenge 1988. Edward Hall is watching. Momolu Sion, I remember picking coconut from coconut plantation and playing bowling at bowling center on the beach on Randa Street. I didn't even know there was a bowling alley.
Oh yeah, there was a bowling alley right behind and the plantation behind there, and they had a nightclub. So you go bowl and then you go and dance.
We will talk about some of those nightclubs that were there. And someone told me about a drink. I want to show you whether any of you tasted that drink. John Pearson said that was the most exciting sporting event that I've ever been at. That's the REM Barrow or the Lone Star. I missed the gala day in school, the color day, PE, to mention just a few. Oh my God. Kamara Abdullahi, I was in vacation in Monrovia. I saw President Samuel Doe at JFK Hospital, at the Boulevard.
Tubman Boulevard.
Tubman Boulevard. This is what I remember, 1980. I was a little boy in the village, all the way behind God's back. And you know, in my village, there was no ELBC. So the news about the death of President Tubman, we heard that when the Liberian languages program came on by 6 p.m. So that's the time we heard it. So we came from on a farm, we are playing marbles. And there was this way of playing marble, we used to call it tubber bend. That is, you put your hand over it to shoot the marble, right? So we call it tubber bend. And now, remembering, we knew that from what we knew, when the president dies, the vice president takes place. So when we heard the news that President Tubman was dead, so we changed the tubber bend. Now we say it was going to be Benin Warner who was going to be president. So we started calling it Benin Ben instead of tubber bend. Isn't that naive being a kid? They said they killed the president. You are expecting the vice president to take place.
Yeah. And Benny Warden is still alive. I understand. Yeah, here in the U.S.
Yes, he is. Momolu Singh said there's a Sac Tower nightclub.
Oh yeah, that's my father time. Not even me. Not even me. But there was the wave. There was the wave. The old. There was a key nightclub. As a member, you get a key. You open the door, you go inside. But I wasn't a member. I went there once or twice.
Don't forget
John
our
Mawolo said most
Matiata.
people don't know that we used to have student exchange in Liberia. That's how good the school system was. Students from all over the world partook in that. And did any of you remember this wine? Let me see the name. And I was coming to the program. Someone told me, say, I will see what they remember. Ask them about there was a wine you used to drink. But Mr. Kunney, let me get your last thing here. Anything else you remember as we wind down?
Yeah, with regard to the television academic programs, there was also this program that I had a privilege to participate in, Question Bags by Sherman Brown and his
Yeah.
wife, Question Bags. And I used to really go there to get a little $25 prize. And to win that prize, you got to listen to the news. It's all current events. And then the other thing, like Welma said, a lot of things occur in our country. Things needed to be improved, and there were things that were also there. So here we're recounting some of the social, educational, cultural, but there was also some of the political events we remember. We remember especially when it comes to the University of Liberia. I remember the August 24 invasion of the universities. It's still fresh in my mind. I still remember the Minister of Defense walking through the gate from the Capitol building and standing there, and then you hear the order move or be removed. I remember that very clearly. I remember the political activities that took place at the University of Liberia, the Student Unification Party, the Student Integration Movement. After the resumption of student political activities, I clearly remember the debate between Samuel Kofi Woods and the late, oh, I forget the brother's name.
Wotapia?
Huh?
Wotapia?
No, not Wotapia, man.
Oh.
I remember, I just forgot his name.
You said
Tio Betty.
Tio Betty, yeah.
And those things were really very intellectual. They were enriching. I remember the University of Liberia Intellectual Discourse Committee, and if you were a government official, you went there. You have to really be pretty equipped to know what you're talking about, or else those boys will give you a address at that forum. So there are a lot of things, and our country has come a long way. We still got a long way to go. And in closing, I just want to share the optimism of Welma. Like I always say, the political analysis, sometimes there is some impatience on our part. And I understand the reason behind that impatience, but we also have to be aware that the democracy we're talking about in our country, especially that direct democracy where everybody is participating in something that is just probably 12 years old. And it will take time for some of these democratic values to be entrenched in our system. So I do believe, I share the optimism that over time, our country will get it right. It may not be in our lifetime, but we'll get it right. And there is still a lot more we can remember in Liberia. Liberia is a beautiful country, and no matter the situation, it will always be our home. Thank you for this series.
Cisano? Cisano? That's Cisano.
That's Susano, man. We don't know Susano, man.
Okay. Who can tell me about Cisano?
Well,
tell me your Cisano experience.
I didn't drink Cinzano, so I don't have a Cinzano experience. But my grandmother did. One of my grandmothers, and she used to hide the liquor bottle behind it. She used to hide it because she was so up, and everybody thought she was just, her standard was so high. until we found her little Cinzano bottle behind her bed. And then we started realizing that, oh, she's just like everybody else.
Oh, so drinking Cinzano was a bad thing.
No, it was just like drinking beer or anything else.
Right, because you're saying, because nobody expected her to drink Cinzano.
Oh, we didn't know she drank at all.
Oh, okay.
She was somebody who we thought did not drink until we found her Cinzano bottle behind the bed.
Mr. Kunney.
My Susano experience, actually, the Susano got missing. We took it to a dance. I still remember this dance was at what is now D2. It used to be called Wilmot Junior and Senior High School. So we were telling us where there was a dance. So we took the Susano bottle, and because we didn't want anybody to see the Susano bottle, we bury it on the field. We say, when we, get to dancing and other things, we'll come and get it. My brother, after a while, we want to look for that bottle on the field. We couldn't find the bottle. I mean, we duck all around. Who come and take our bottle? We think did somebody see us putting this thing and they come behind us? And we never found out Susano bottle. So I didn't have the opportunity to drink it that time.
Oh, wow. And it was not one of you.
No. I think maybe we just missed the place or something.
Maybe it's still there.
Yeah. That's one of the things we need to find out when we go back to
curing. When you go back there, you find it will be strong.
Abby Tyler say, I remember my friends and I had a school girl crush on Kwame Clement. Abby, you want to talk that yet?
A lot of the girls had a crush on Kwame Clement because the way he used to read the news.
Kwame was a sensation with the newscast. The guy is reading the thing and people wondering where now is this tape recorder playing or is he reading? I think that was a new thing.
Kwame he knew the news because he went out and researched it, he wrote it, and then he came, and instead of reading it, he would just sit there and talk the news. Yeah. And there was no teleprompter, nothing that he was reading off of, just from his head.
Yeah.
So it was sensational. In America here, the anchors, they're reading every word they're saying in front of them. But Kwame
there was always a debate, whether it was Charles Boyan or Kwame Clement. So there are fan club for them. There were people who prefer Charles Boyan, some say Kwame Clement. And so my older brother was a Charles Boyan fan, and then my older cousin was a Kwame Clement fan. But you couldn't help at the end when Kwame just a 30-minute news, maybe he gave it 15 minutes because he memorized the whole thing and he just like boom, boom, boom. And by the time he completes it, you can't help but to start to clap.
Oh yeah.
But then,
and these are brilliant people who schooled in Liberia.
Yeah.
Some of them went to school under the plum tree. Some of them went to, what they call it, Ole Crawford School.
Yeah.
The schools that were not supposed to be the best. But these people came out brilliant and able to compete anywhere in the world.
Yeah.
Liberia education system was very good.
Let me. We have 15 minutes, but we want to squeeze in a few calls here if you want to join the conversation. On this, I remember, just give a quick call and for 1 minute, share something with us that you remember about Liberia. Again, we are not trying to paint the picture that everything in Liberia was rosy. I went to school. I got up in the morning, crossed 4 creeks to go to the nearest elementary school. So not everything was fine, but a lot of it was fun. And this we remember. Please tell me, where is Victoria Christopher? She used to do the weekend review. Oh, sorry to report that she has passed away.
Her son is a member of the legislature right now in Liberia from Basel.
Oh, what's her name?
Her son, anybody who knows Victoria's son, type it there somewhere.
Yeah, okay. Ida Smith said one thing about Cinzano was that it had a sweet taste, and if you mind the sweetness, you will get drunk fast. Especially if you are drinking Indo and you came out and the breeze hit you. Okay, tell me, in your experience, which your instructor, your teacher, inspire you most, had the most impact on your life, if you can remember.
Who, me?
Both of you can start.
Okay, well, I have two teachers that
Okay.
inspired me. One, her name was Mariam Melton. Miss Melton was just a sweet person. I learned a lot under her, and she had the feeling for the students. And my other teacher, I would have to say, Sawyer, Dr. Amos Sawyer, University of Liberia. He was the one who encouraged me to leave agriculture and join sociology. And I could see my way clear graduating when I did that. So I appreciate those two people.
Mr. Kunney.
For me, quickly, because maybe I may not come back. Look, there's one thing that I remember in Liberia. I don't want to leave from here without mentioning it. This place used to be the premier entertainment place in Nikutown. Babiata, everybody from Nikutown know Babiata, that Big Brother place, and Richie Bar. Richie Bar and Babiata, you cannot come from that borough and you don't know about Babiata and Richie Bar. But back to the question you asked about which of my teachers, I actually had two. And I always gave more importance to my teacher at the elementary level, because that's the most critical point. And that teacher is one mistress, Lois Myers. She used to be called Lois Myers at the time. Now I understand she's in Sweden.
Yeah.
I contacted her. She couldn't even remember, but she got no clue how she impacted me. I mean, be it the Bible stories and the teaching, everything. And she made a big influence on me in elementary school. And I never had that feeling again until maybe I entered the University of Liberia, and I met Dr. Bad Nwako from, he was one of the professors at the business college. Those were the teachers that were recruited by Dr. Sherman to further elevate the standards of the university, Dr. Bad Nwako. And his colleague, but for him, he was one of the persons that actually inspired me at the university to actually do economics. I thought with a police background, and people would tell you, well, maybe if you like policing, do sociology. But, Dr. Badmarco actually, kind of guided me in the area of economics. So for me, it's Mrs. Lois Myers and Dr. Badmarco.
Right. And let me share mine too. Both of them passed away. Mine was in the third grade in my hometown of Dodo and Sino County. So we were speaking English, but then when this teacher, T. Sine Potipa, when he came, he taught us proper pronunciation, especially with the TH sound. So every time, like my sister was Dorothy, we used to say Dorothy. He said, no, it should be Dorothy. So he was teaching us the TH sound, and then he said Edward. Don't say Edward. Don't say Edwin. So and we were little, speaking your local language, and this man came and just taught us how to speak properly, pronounce these words, things that were taken for granted. And he was always he was teaching us songs. I remember when PROC took over, one of the songs that he taught us, because that time everybody thinking that this is a brand new day. So he taught us the song. This time is people's time, not who knows you, but what you know, not who you are, but who you are. This time is people's time. And it used to be a big song. He used to sing, charismatic guy. And my next teacher, seeing Monrovia College, my geography teacher, Mr. Joseph Bien, he also passed away. He used to admire me so much that all the classes he taught, people knew me, because when he go, he would just be raving about me. And if you are in school and you are somehow a little timid, and you have a teacher who is always talking about you, encouraging you, and doing all the things, because I used to love geography, right? Because it was one of the courses that made sense to me. Other courses were so abstract. But geography, you talk about the earth, you talk about the rocks, those are things I could really relate to. And so I was doing very well and Joseph Bien helped me so much. Let's get our last comment, and then I will get your closing comment. This again from Kamara Abdullah. On behalf of my brother, we would like to say hi to all the teachers at Miss, is that Miss M School in Kakata? Kamara, put the whole thing there because I don't know what that is. But thank you so much. And those of you joining us, this is going to continue with this. I know there is something that you remember that you want to share. Please don't hesitate to contact us right here at Focus on Liberia.
I just want to, if I may quickly,
Sure.
I just want to thank all these people who have been so good to me to help me. The late Archie Bob Brown, like I said, I really want to remember him always. Cooper Quimmy, he was in my agriculture class. Cooper helped me dig the ground and plant. Roland Massaquoi and Lavala. I just want to remember. I will always remember these guys. Yes.
Thank you. And Momolu is enjoying the program. Say, Mr. Jad, this is a good program. Keep it up. I really enjoy your guest tonight. Thank you so much. Okay. Kamara Lai was, I said Kamara Lai. Kamara Abdullah was talking about a French teacher. So thank you. Let me get your closing comments and then we can close the broadcast. Thank you so much for spending your night here and also sharing your stories. It's very important.
Well,
go ahead.
Well, don't mind what you mean. They say, they say lady first. So I'm sorry for jumping the gun.
No, gentleman in front. Okay, so my closing comment is that I want to really encourage our Liberian students to focus on the best things of Liberia. And one of the best things about Liberia is that Liberia is responsible for giving birth to democracy, the republic, the having of countries, the establishment of freedom of these different territories and colonies around Africa. Liberia was the first republic. We must remember that. We must honor that. And we must make Liberia only be as good as we are. Liberia is not bad. It has individuals. And be your best so that Liberia can be its best.
You ready for me?
Yes, sir.
Oh, okay. Well, I just got one thing to say, especially to our brothers and sisters that are in the diaspora. There is a word we got included called pafuka. We should not pafuka. What pafuka means is you leave your home, you go to other people's home, and you forget about your own home. You don't even think about your home. So, let us always think about Liberia. Let us remember our experiences in Liberia, good or bad. But most importantly, for those of us that are here, born children, extending our family line, let us always teach our children about Liberia. They should not be a lost generation. We shouldn't subscribe to the notion that, well, my children are here, they ain't got nothing to do with Liberia. You don't know. You really don't know. You have African Americans that have a broken link with Africa going back 400 years, and they are still searching their link to Africa. So you shouldn't for once assume that because you have your children here, they wouldn't have anything to do with your country. So let us remember our country, let us remember the stories from our country, but most importantly, let us pass these stories on to our children, our grandchildren, so that they too can know that we come from a place before arriving on these shows. Dennis, I want to say thank you to FOL for this platform. I want to encourage you to bring more Liberians, because there are other people that have their experiences, the different from us, so that they can share into it. And I cannot say that I cannot say how honored I am to be with my Royal Highness on this show. And in case you just forget, one of the things I remember was you two on the radio. I remember you giving the news on ELBC. That's one of the things I remember in Liberia. Thank you.
And one time she was reading the news, she and Rachel, what's the last name?
Dukley?
Rachel Dukley. And then when she read, and then she passed, and then she was like letting Rachel to say something. She just tried to say Rachel, and she did it in such a way, just like a video queen. Everybody started clapping. I mean, that was just classic. But the key word tonight, Mr. Kunney, you say what? Bafuka?
Bafuka.
And then my friend, as soon as she my co-host here, who's also from the crew area, coined this word Bafukaism.
Bafukaism. So yeah, explain to me. Let me know what Bafukaism was.
So what is Bafuka again?
Bafuka means our people. That's the word. That's the behavior our people describe. They give to you. If you leave your home, you go to other people's home, and then you forget about our home. You don't even think about it. And it got different meaning. You got, some people, they go to their home, maybe the way the people used to eat, they go there again. They don't even want to eat like that. It's like you've forgotten about your whole background. You forgot who you are. You take on the identity of that new place. You don't want to have anything to do with that old place. Then how people say, you know what? Then it's Bafuka. Mr. Rio Bafuka. Or Mukubli or Pafuka, you come to America, you want to hear about Liberia again, Pafuka.
So Pafukaism should be avoided?
Yeah,
it should be avoided.
So Pafuka is almost like a vagabond or some and you're saying this concept, because almost like chameleon, right? Everywhere you go, you take the color of that place. We should avoid that. And Liberia should always be our home.
The only thing I would say is we should take the best of wherever we are and bring the best of what we have.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And closing comment too for Abubakar Khan said, thanks and good night from my Propo corner of Lagos State, Nigeria. I really enjoyed following the show. Thank you so much. Jay Pearson said, let's make Liberia great again. You were right about that. And Isaac Smith say, thank you, Mr. Jad. This indeed a very good program for a time such as now to reminiscence and re-unk the joy of yesteryears, thereby enacting laughter. This is stress reducer. Thanks to your guests as well. You brought back many fond memories. I remember the trumpet, Hugh Masekela. Thank you so much. We want to thank everybody. And let us remember all the things we're going to do. Let us avoid Pafukaism. Don't neglect your roots. And also, don't Pafuka on us at Focus on Liberia. Always remember to keep it here at Focus on Liberia, where we educate, we elevate, uplift, and promote all things Liberia. I want to thank you all for coming. Thank to our guests, our viewers, and even those who will watch later. What we do here at Focus on Liberia is we don't leave without reminding ourselves that we are all Liberians. No matter where we go, Liberia is the only country we have. This is where our neighbors' friends were buried. Don't mind all the people that say, oh, you take on another citizenship, so you're not Liberian. Don't listen to them. Our country is Liberia, and that's the only country we have. And let us remember, we are all Liberian, and that song is taking us home. Good night, and God bless.
We are Liberian. Liberia is our home. Liberian people. Liberia.